Feeder, rigs deconstructed. Paternoster, running, helicopter, and method scope. This guide assumes you are fishing for European common bream, Abramis brama, from the bank. If you mean North American bream, such as bluegill or sunfish, use smaller, lighter tackle and different hook patterns. Bream feeder fishing looks simple. Fill the feeder, cast it out, and watch the tip. But the rig controls three important things: where the hookbait lands, whether it stays visible, and how much resistance the fish feels. Common bream feed mainly on or close to the bottom. Their food can include plant matter, detritus, small invertebrates, algae, and zooplankton. Their feeding intensity also changes during the year, so one rig should not be used in every season or on every bottom. The short answer is Paternoster, best all-round stillwater rig for positive bites. Running rig, best when bream are cautious or moving slowly. Helicopter rig, best over silt, low weed, and debris. Method feeder, best when fish are feeding hard over clean, firm ground. What underwater evidence shows? There is a useful amount of underwater angling footage, but there is not a large peer-reviewed laboratory trial comparing all 4 feeder rigs under identical conditions.
The clearest practical evidence comes from 2 sources. Tackle Guru's Underwater Feeder Series, which tests method and hybrid feeders, different hookbaits, feed mixes, and rig changes underwater. Core does underwater filming, which shows that a helicopter rig may land on top of its own leader or main line. This can make the hookbait much harder for a fish to pick up, even though the rig flew well and did not tangle in the air. That leads to an important lesson. A rig that casts without tangling is not automatically a rig that presents well on the bottom. A rig can land neatly but still leave the hookbait buried in silt, wedged in weed, lying across the main line, trapped inside hard feed, sitting too close to the feeder for cautious fish. A simple controlled tank test. You can test the mechanics without putting a fish in the tank. Use a clear storage box or aquarium, 20-30 centimeters of water, a 20 to 30 G feeder, one identical hook length for every test, a size 14 to 16 hook, a small piece of bright foam or artificial corn as the test bait, and 4 bottom trays, clean gravel, firm sand or clay, soft silt, sparse weed or leaf debris. For safety, either remove the hook point or use barbless hooks. Test 1 landing. Drop each rig from the same height. Record. Does the feeder land upright? Is the hookbait visible? Does the hook link fall away from the feeder? Does the feeder sink into the bottom? Test 2. Reset. Tighten the line. Pull the rig 10 to 15 centimeters and slacken it. Watch whether the hook link moves back into a fishable position. The hookbait stays outside the feeder. The rig becomes trapped on the bottom. The hook point turns away from the bait. Test 3. Tangle. Make several short casts into the tank, or lower the ribs while moving them sideways. Inspect the rig after each drop. Score each result from 0 to 2. 0 poor, 1 usable, 2 very good. Expected tank test pattern. For the full table, please open this article on smartfishing.pro. These are mechanical expectations, not invented catch rate figures. The most important checks are whether the hookbait is visible and whether the rig remains safe if the main line breaks. The Paternoster rig. The Paternoster places the feeder on a short side branch, while the hook link sits above it. It is one of the most useful rigs for bream on still waters. A classic bream feeder guide reports that the Paternoster can give more positive bites than a running ledger, especially when bream are feeding on still water. How it works. When the line is tight, the feeder branch points back toward the rod. The hook link hangs away from the feeder. When a bream picks up the bait and moves away, the branch can slacken. This reduces the amount of feeder resistance the fish feels. The result is often a slower, more confident pull on the quiver tip, instead of a few sharp taps. Pros: very good bite detection, good for open-ended feeders, places the bait close to the feed, works well on firm bottoms, easy to change hook links, useful when bream are feeding confidently. Cons: a large loop can tangle during the cast. The side branch can catch weed. A fixed version may be unsafe after a break-off. The hookbait can settle into silt if the feeder sinks. Less suitable for thick debris. Paternoster build. Use these as starting dimensions. Mainline 0.20 to 0.25 mm mono,
or 0.06 to 0.10 mm braid, with a 0.20 to 0.23 mm leader. Feeder branch, 0.20 to 0.23 mm stiff mono or fluorocarbon. Hook link, 0.10 to 0.16 mm. Hook link length, 45 to 75 cm. Hook size, 14 to 18 in winter, 12 to 16 in warmer months. Feeder, 15 to 40 grams, depending on casting distance and wind. Knot by knot build. Prepare the branch. Cut 15 to 20 centimeters of 0.20 to 0.23 millimeter stiff line. Tie the 4-turn water knot. Lay the branch alongside the main line. Form a loose overhand knot with both lines. Pass both lines through the knot 3 more times, making 4 turns in total. Moisten and tighten slowly. Leave the correct tag. Leave the tag pointing back toward the rod. This becomes the hook link branch. Trim the other tag to about 6 to 10 centimeters for the feeder. Make the hook link loop. Tie a small double overhand loop at the end of the hook link branch. Connect the hook link loop to the branch loop using a loop-to-loop connection. Attach the feeder. Tie a small feeder swivel or feeder link to the lower tag using a 4 or 5-turn grinner knot. Add an anti-tangle sleeve. Cover the feeder link connection with 2 to 3 centimeters of silicone tubing. This stiffens the joint and reduces wraps around the feeder. Check safety. Use a feeder link that allows the feeder to separate if the rig breaks. Do not fish a closed fixed loop over snags.
Best use. Use the Paternoster when you are fishing 15 to 45 meters.
The bottom is clean or firm. Bream are giving slow, positive pulls. You want strong bite detection. You are using an open-ended cage or window feeder. The running rig allows the feeder to move along the line or along a feeder link. The fish can pick up the hook bait without immediately feeling the full weight of the feeder. A modern running feeder rig is often built with a stiff boom or feeder link. Steve Ringer's natural water setup uses a 0.22 mm fluorocarbon boom, a free-running feeder link, and a longer hook link. How it works. The fish takes the bait and the line moves through the feeder system. This creates less resistance than a fixed feeder. The trade-off is that the rig may not hook the fish as aggressively. If the fish moves toward the bank, you may also get a slackline bite. If it moves sideways, friction through the feeder link can create taps and missed bites. Low resistance. Excellent for shy or pressured bream. Simple to build, good for long hook links. Useful in winter, easy to use with cage, window, or plastic feeders. Cons: less self-hooking than a semi-fixed rig. Can show small taps instead of full bites. Long hook lengths can tangle. The bait can settle deep into soft mud. Slackline bites are easy to miss. Running rig build. Starting dimensions. Mainline 0.18 to 0.25 mm mono, or 0.06 to 0.10 mm braid with a leader. Boom 0.20 to 0.23 mm stiff fluorocarbon. Hook link 0.10 to 0.16 mm. Hook link length 60 to 100 centimeters. Hook size 14 to 18 for small baits, 12 to 16 for corn, worm, or pellet. Feeder 15 to 40 grams. Knot by knot build. Add a leader if needed. For braid, use a 5 to 8 meter leader of 0.20 to 0.23 mm mono or fluorocarbon. An Albright style knot or double grinner can be used. Thread on the feeder link. The feeder link must slide freely on the main line or leader. Add a buffer bead. Place a rubber bead below the feeder link. This protects the terminal knot. Tie on the terminal swivel. Use a 4 or 5-turn grinner knot. Moisten the knot before tightening. Create a short boom. Twist 10 to 12 centimeters of stiff line above the feeder connection and lock it with a small overhand knot. A stiff boom kicks the hook link away from the feeder. Make a small double overhand loop at the hook link end and attach it to the quick change swivel. Add the hook. Use a Palomar knot for an eyed hook, or a spade end knot for a spade hook. Test the movement. Pull the hook link gently. The feeder link should slide without sticking. Best use. Use the running rig when water is cold, bream are mouthing the bait. The water is clear, fish are pressured. You need a long, delicate hook link. You are fishing short to medium range. A simple running rig is also a good first choice for a new venue because it gives natural presentation without too many parts. The helicopter rig. The helicopter rig places the hook link above the feeder. The hook link swivel rotates around the main line or leader. The
The rig is called a helicopter because the hook link can spin around the line during the cast. How it works. During the cast, the hook link travels up the line. When the feeder reaches the bottom, the hook link drops back toward the lower stop. By moving the top bead higher, you can keep the hook link above soft silt, weed, or leaf debris. This is why the helicopter system is useful on rough bottoms. But it has a weakness. The hook link may land on top of the leader or mainline. Corda's underwater filming showed this happening more than once. The bait may then be difficult for a fish to find or pick up cleanly. Pros: very good for silt and low weed, excellent at long range, low tangle risk during the cast, hook link can be raised above debris, good with short, stiff hook links. Cons: presentation is not always predictable, hook bait can land on the leader, less direct than a Paternoster, can be difficult to set safely. The rig may lose hooking power if the top bead is too high. Helicopter rig build. Starting dimensions. Mainline, 0.22 to 0.28 mm mono, or 0.08 to 0.12 mm braid with a leader. Leader, 0.20 to 0.25 mm mono, or a safe feeder leader. Hook link, 0.11 to 0.16 mm fluorocarbon or stiff mono. Hook link length, 10 to 20 centimeters. Hook size, 14 to 18 for maggots, 12 to 16 for corn or pellet. Feeder, 25 to 50 grams for longer casts. Knot by knot build. Prepare the bottom connection. Tie a feeder swivel or feeder snap to the end of the leader with a 4 or 5 turn grinner knot. Add the bottom bead. Slide on a soft bead or purpose-made buffer above the feeder connection. Add the hook link swivel. Use a large eye or ring swivel so it can rotate and move freely. Add the top bead. Place a second bead above the hook link swivel. This bead must slide or release safely. Attach the hook link. Make a small loop in the hook link and connect it to the ring swivel. Set the bead height. Firm gravel or clay, 3 to 6 centimeters above the feeder. Light silt, 8 to 15 centimeters. Deep silt or low weed, 15 to 25 centimeters. Make the safety check. The top bead must be able to move or release if the main line breaks. A fixed bead can leave a fish towing the feeder. Safe helicopter systems are designed to let the hook link come free. Best use. Use the helicopter rig when the feeder sinks into soft silt. The bottom has low weed or leaves. You need extra casting distance. A normal hook link would bury itself. You're using a short, slightly stiff hook link. Do not use a helicopter rig simply because it is fashionable. First test where the hook bait actually lands. The method feeder places the hook bait inside or beside a compact pile of ground bait or damp pellets. Flatbed feeders are designed to land with the feed uppermost. The hook bait is close to the feed and may be partly hidden until the ball begins to break down. The method feeder was originally developed for bream fishing, although modern versions are now strongly associated with carp. How it works: the fish arrives at a small pile of feed. As it eats, the hook bait is exposed among the loose food. The short hook link keeps the bait close to the feeder. The weight of the feeder helps turn bites into hookups, especially when fish are feeding with confidence. Pros: very low casting tangle risk, delivers feed and hook bait together, strong self-hooking effect, excellent over clean, hard bottoms, very accurate at short and medium range, good when bream are feeding hard. Cons: hook bait can stay buried, feed may be packed too hard, the flatbed can sink into soft mud. Heavy feeders can make a splash, short hook links can be poor for very cautious fish, requires more careful feed preparation. Method feeder build. Starting dimensions. Mainline, at least 0.2 mm mono, or 0.06 to 0.1 mm braid, with a leader. Hook link, 0.12 to 0.16 mm supple braid or mono. Hook link length, 7 to 12 centimeters. Hook size, 12 to 16. Feeder, 15 to 35 grams. Baits, corn, caster, maggot, small pellet, wafer or worm section. Drennan has used a 35-gram feeder with an 18-inch 0.14 mm hook link and a size 16 hook for bream, while other method setups use much shorter braided hook links and size 14 to 16 hooks. These are useful starting points, not fixed rules. Knot by knot build. Thread the main line through the feeder. The line should pass smoothly through the feeder tube. Tie on the swivel. Use a 4 or 5 turn grinner knot. Seat the swivel. Push the swivel into the feeder's safety insert. It should be held firmly but still be able to pull free after a break-off.
Prepare the hook link. Use supple braid if the hook bait will be buried in the seed. Stiff mono can spring the bait out of the feed as the mix breaks down. Tie the hook. Use a Palomar knot for an eyed hook. If using a hair, use a knotless knot. Add the bait stop. A short hair is ideal for corn, a small pellet, or a mini wafter. Attach the hook link. Tie a small loop and connect it to the feeder swivel.
Press a thin layer of feed into the mold. Place the hook bait in the middle. Lay the hook link neatly over the feed. Add more feed. Press firmly enough to survive the cast, but not so hard that it becomes a lump of concrete. Check the hook point. The feed may cover the bait, but the hook point should not be sealed under a hard plug. Best use. Use the method feeder when the bottom is firm, fish are feeding actively, you need very accurate feeding, you are fishing up to about 40 meters. Bream are comfortable with a compact pile of feed. You want very few tangles. Seasonal line and hook guide. These are practical starting points for reservoir bream. Line diameter is more useful than breaking strain because breaking strains vary between brands. For the full table, please open this article on smartfishing.pro. Do not assume that summer always means heavy feeding. One reservoir study found the lowest feeding intensity in June and July during the spawning period. Reservoir conditions and available food can change the best bait and feed level. For long-range bream fishing, a practical setup is around 0.08 mm braid, a long leader around 0.20 to 0.22 mm, a 0.22 mm fluorocarbon boom, and a 0.14 to 0.16 mm hook link. Steve Ringer has reported a similar distance setup with a 0.22 mm boom and a size 12 hook. Rig, distance, bottom, and fish mood matrix. For the full table, please open this article on smartfishing.pro. How to choose when you arrive. Start with the bottom. Use a bare lead or empty feeder to feel the bottom. Sharp taps, gravel or hard stones, smooth dragging, sand or clay, heavy sticky pull, silt or soft mud, sudden stop and spring back, weed or debris. If the bottom is soft, do not automatically use a longer hook link. A long hook link may simply bury the bait farther from the feeder. Start with the fish mood. If the fish are active and competing, use method feeder, short paternoster, larger hook bait, more compact feed. If the fish are cautious, use running rig, longer hook link, smaller hook, less feed, natural baits such as maggot or caster. Change one thing at a time. If you get taps but no fish, check the hook point. Shorten the hook link slightly. Try a smaller hook. Reduce the bait size. Change from a fixed style rig to a running rig. If the feeder comes back with the bait buried, loosen the method mix. Use less feed. Change to a cage feeder. Raise the helicopter bead. Move to firmer ground. If the rig tangles, shorten the hook link. Use a stiffer boom. Add an anti-tangle sleeve. Feather the cast. Keep the hook link longer than the feeder branch. Inspect every cast until the problem is solved. Final verdict. There is no single best feeder rig for reservoir bream. Choose the Paternoster when you want positive bites and good control on firm ground. Choose the running rig when the fish are shy, the water is cold, or you need a long natural hook link. Choose the helicopter rig when silt, weed, or debris threatens to bury the bait. Choose the method feeder when bream are feeding hard over a clean bottom. The most important habit is to test the rig before trusting it. Watch where the hook bait lands, check whether it stays visible, and make sure the system is safe after a break-off. A rig that looks perfect on the bank may be completely wrong underwater. All links to sources are available in the text version of this article. You can find the full article at smartfishing.pro/blog. Thanks for listening. For more research-driven freshwater fishing guides, fish species breakdowns, and lake fishing tactics, visit smartfishing.pro. That's smartfishing.pro for the full written research and new fishing updates.